Hey guys, welcome to my September TBR. Yes, we are heading into the autumn season and I am so excited. I'm taking a lesson out of my books from last month and I'm keeping my TBR relatively small. From the thumbnail picture, it's not going to look very small because there's a few large books on here, but it will all make sense as I get into it. So I'm only really, mostly, maybe not quite, going to be sharing the books that I'm actually going to read, and I have one possibility. I thought about sharing all the possibilities that I might read for the different challenges. Krista is doing series September. I have a book I really want to at least start, a series that I want to start for that, and a series I want to continue, but I'm not even going to tell you about them because I feel like last month, this month that we're currently in, August, went really well. Just having a few books and then reading whatever else I wanted, that I want to continue to do that. So I have books in the back of my mind that I might read for those, but I'm just going to keep them there. We'll see how this works. Maybe next month I'll share with you my actual TBR and then another pile of possibilities, but we're going to keep this a little bit simpler this time. Plus with September, I just feel like I kind of want to mood read and read all the things. So there are a few different things I'm going to be sharing today. One is my Agatha Christie for the month. Even though I'm not currently filming a video each month trying to solve an Agatha Christie, I wanted to, I got burnt out. I am still reading one a month, so I'm going to share that. Then I'm going to share the books I'm going to be reading for the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge, then the book that I chose for Books and Lala's Buzzwordathon. Then I'm going to be sharing picking a book out of a mug, picking the name of a book out of a mug that I'm going to be reading based on books that my patrons have recommended, and then I'm going to do one possibility for the You've Got Mail Readathon that's happening throughout September. So first thing though that I want to say is I wanted to share this earlier, but my online system was having some issues. Etsy / who they connect with for me was having some issues, but I did create a shirt for the Read Your Bookshelf No, not the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge. Too many challenges. For the You've Got Mail Readathon, I wanted to design something for You've Got Mail. I gave my patrons 3 options, and this one is the winner. So if you want to order yourself a shirt or a tote or a mug in that design, go to the link in the description and you can do that. There was another design that I really loved that didn't win. My patrons didn't choose that one, but that's okay because it will be coming out later this year, so stay tuned for that. Okay, now let's get into my TBR. First book is my Agatha Christie for the month, and if you've been around for a little while, you'll know what it is. This is the next Tommy and Tuppence book by the pricking of my thumbs. Let's see, will it focus? So this book is pretty cool because it was published in 1968, I believe, and this is an original book, the first edition book. I have a few of these Agatha Christie's that were first edition books, so I'm going to be reading this one. I don't know anything about it. It didn't come with a dust jacket. Some of mine, like that are first editions, did come with dust jackets. This one didn't, so I'm going to go into this blind, but I do know that Tommy and Tuppence aged throughout the series. They started out right after World War I. The last book I read was during World War II, and I don't know where this one's going to take us, but they are a couple that get into solving mysteries, and I just love their relationship, honestly. I'm really here for Tommy and Tuppence, not even the mysteries so much. Okay, and then here's where the stack gets big. These are my books for the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge. And I'm not going to read all of them, in case you couldn't figure that out. I'm just going to read a bit from each of these. So I would like to finish The Lottery and Other Short Stories by Shirley Jackson. I have borrowed this from the library a few times, and I don't remember exactly where I am, but I now have my own copy, so I want to figure out where I am, and I would like to read the rest of this. I think I have a little bit more than half to read. So Shirley Jackson, the stories that I have read from here are in the gothic horror vein, and I just like where she takes her stories. They always make me think. So I would like to at least read some of these, probably finish it. If I don't finish it in September, I feel like October might be a good month to finish it. Then in my last video, which I was sharing a bunch of options for the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge because the prompt is collections or a collection, And I do love poetry, but I've gotten out of reading it in the last few months. So I want to read a poem a day out of each of these books. So a poem for every day of the year. This is edited by Ali Asiri, and like I shared in my previous video, what she does is she has a nice long description as to why she chose each poem for that day. So sometimes it has to do with something, generally like a war that took place on that day, or let's just flip to this one. What is this? March 22nd. The poem is Spring by William Blake, and they pick a like spring-ish poem. So for September 1st, we're going to be reading, I'm going to be reading anyway, Bomber's Moon. The Second World War began on September 1st, 1939. So then there's a poem relating to that. So I like how she does that. The other one is The Complete Poems of Emily Dickinson, and I'm a big Emily Dickinson fan. My plan is to read at least one poem of hers a day. They're very short, except this first one apparently. And I'm not sure if these are in order that she wrote them or how this is organized, but they're very short poems generally, so I want to get a few pages of this read at least in September. And then I'm going to be continuing with Friends, a poem for every day of the year, and this one is edited by Jane McMorland Hunter. Like I said in my last video as well, she does such a great job editing her poetry collections. She, from what I have noticed from this one anyway, she collects such beautiful poems. So let's see, what am I going to start with on September 1st? And these ones are all like around the theme of friendship. This one is called By the Seaside. Who is it by? Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. So there's going to be a lot of poetry in my month. Actually, let's just add one more poem a day. I didn't originally grab this one out because it's on my stack of books that I need to share in a book haul, but I would like to add this one in. This is a nature poem for every day of the year, also edited by Jane McMorland Hunter. I love these books. They're big hardcovers. They're beautiful. They've got gold foil. Just love them. And so I haven't even cracked this one open. September 1st, we're going to be starting with A Song at the Beginning of Autumn. That sounds great. I love nature poetry, which is part of the reason I love Emily Dickinson so much. So I'm super excited about this collection. So yeah, I mean, this looks like a lot of reading for just one challenge, but it's just going to be a page or two from most of these each day. Okay, and then Books and Lulla's Buzzwordathon prompt for September is light plus dark, and I didn't go back and see from her original video what she meant from that, but I was thinking it was probably a book that had either the word light or dark in the title. So I pulled out this one, Light from Distant Stars by Sean Smucker. This is a book that I wanted to read in 2022. It's one of my 12-ish, I don't remember exactly how many books I had on that list, fiction books that I wanted to read. I don't know anything about this. It is by Revel, so it's Christian fiction, or supposed to be maybe. It says, when Cohen steps over his father's body in the basement embalming room of the family's funeral home, he has no idea that he is stepping into a labyrinth of memory. Over the next week, his childhood comes back in living color, and then he starts wondering if he's responsible for his father's death. Interesting. I read one other Sean Smucker, The Weight of Memory, I think it was called, and I was not a fan, and I feel like this is going to be the book that tells me if I'm going to like his books or not. I felt like the other one was, I can't even think of the wording. It was weird. It was just weird. So I'm curious for this one. Okay, now it is time to pull out from my Mother of the Year jar that I won from a library book challenge thing. I have to pick a paper from here. These are all suggestions from my patrons on a book that I should read. And last month went so well. I read the book that I pulled out, and then I read the second book in the series, which completes the duology, and I loved them both. So let's see what this one is. And the thing is, most of the ones that they have picked, I've never even heard of them, so I might have to look it up. It is The Extraordinary Life of Sam Hell. I've never heard of this. Let me look it up. Okay, here is the book description according to Goodreads. Sam Hill always saw the world through different eyes. Born with red pupils, he was called Devil Boy, or Sam Hell, by his classmates. God's will is what his mother called his ocular albinism. Her words were of little comfort, but Sam persevered, buoyed by his mother's devout faith, his father's practical wisdom, and his 2 other misfit friends. So it says, Sam believed it was God who sent Ernie, the only African-American kid in his class, to be the friend he so desperately needed. 40 years later, Sam, a small town eye doctor, is no longer certain anything was by design. So this was first published in April of 2018. I've never heard of it, never heard of this author. Interesting. I have fairly high expectations after last month when things went well. According to Goodreads, my people that I am friends with have generally rated this one pretty high. I've got 3 friends that have read it, 2 5 stars, 1 4 star. So that seems like it should be good. Hopefully my library has it or I can get my hands on it pretty easy. So that is one that will be on my stack. And then I have like one, I feel like this is like a possibility, but like I'm probably going to read it. It's much more than a possibility. The Librarian Spy. So I think I'm going to use this one probably for the You've Got Mail prompt where you have to read a book that is like set in a bookstore or library. That totally works too. This is the new book by Madeline Martin that just came out. I have heard not as great things about this one compared to The Last Bookshop in London, her other book, which I just read in July, I think. So I'm going to go into this with lower expectations. I know it's World War II, and I don't know if it's dual timeline or what it is. Going into it blind, but I'm lowering my expectations. We start out, what year do we start out in? April 1943, so that doesn't tell me if it's dual timeline, but I don't really want to read much about it in the flaps, so we'll see. I like the idea of a librarian working undercover as a spy and having like the librarian as their undercover. Yeah, that would be my like pretty much ideal life, I think. So there you have it. That is my small TBR for the month, although it physically looks large. Let me know what you are reading in September and if you are going big, like with huge pilot possibilities, or if you're trying to keep things small like I am. Thanks so much for being here, guys.